Okay, so we'll begin. And I just wanted to read a poem, first of all, which you've probably heard before. I do read it quite often. It's The Guest House by Rumi. And it's really very relevant to this meditation. And I just want to read it and say a few words about it. This being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still, treat each guest honourably. They may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice. Meet them all at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from the beyond. So that to me, that is just such a wonderful poem. It's this metaphor for our minds where, you know, we're constantly changing our moods, aren't we? Things happen to us and our mind reacts straight away. People are nice to us and we love it. People are rude to us and we get upset. Things don't happen that we expect to happen and we get disappointed. Things do happen that we don't want to happen and we want to push them away. We don't want to engage with them. So our minds are constantly looking for pleasure and trying to avoid pain. And in a way, we think that's the way to be happy, to have as much pleasure as we can and as little pain. And it sort of works to a limited extent. But the trouble is, the pleasure doesn't last. And there is always pain. There is always something that is going to knock us off our little pedestals. So the only really answer is to just be with the world, to accept the way the world is, change what we can by all means, but not to resist the things we can't change, and just to accept them with a sense of patience and kindness, and not to cause ourselves more pain through trying to avoid them. Because what happens, the Buddha says, what happens is that pain is inevitable. Things happen that are painful in our lives, and that's like an arrow hitting us, and it's painful. And you know, we can appreciate that. That's true, isn't it? But then what we do is we pierce ourselves with a second or third or fourth arrow by just trying to resist it, by not wanting it, by making up all these stories in our minds and complaining and getting upset and getting angry and getting disappointed. And we add to this first arrow by a massive amount. So that's what we're working on. We're not trying to make the world in any way different. We're just trying to stop ourselves from making our pain worse. And if we can do that, we'll have a sense of contentment and happiness. So the mindfulness of breathing is a very good way of doing that. And in the first session, we did a body scan, and that's also very important to be in our bodies. One of my teachers, Tejjananda, I was meditating with him yesterday online with a lot of other people, and he says our bodies are a bit like an appendage to our heads. We live in our heads all the time, and this body is sort of swinging around beneath the head, a bit inconsequential, because we're so caught up in here, or what we think is here. We think our mind is here, don't we? But in actual fact, that's not true. Our brain is there, but our mind is actually made up of our whole being, our true mind, not our chattering mind, our true mind. is made up of our whole being, the whole of our body, and the whole of our experience. So what we're trying to do in this mindfulness of breathing is to come down into the body, away from the head, and to allow the body and the head and the mind, which is probably somewhere else, to all be together in harmony, to integrate. And it's not easy, it takes a lot of practice. But this if we can just let the unpleasant things go and be in our body, then it makes it a lot easier. And in the first two stages, we follow the breath, as you probably know. In the third stage, we come into the body with the breath in the body, and we notice what the breath in the body feels like. And I'm going to do an extended stage for that this morning, and we're going to try moving down into the body, into the main body, as far away as we can get from the mind, to a place called the hara. And this teacher Tejjananda that I've been on retreat with him so many times over the last 10 years. One of the things he teaches is something called the hara, that we can come into contact with, and it's between our navel and our belly button. And if we can breathe from there in some way, then it really takes us completely out of our minds, from our chattering minds, sorry, not our ordinary minds, not our bigger minds. It takes us away from our chattering, distracted minds, and from this sense of being in our head. So we're going to just have a go at that. I've not done it before, but hey, let's see if we can explore a different thing this morning a bit. So that's all I want to say. So we can start getting ready to meditate, and just relaxing, getting comfortable. If you're lying in bed still, that's okay. If you're lying on the floor, sitting on a chair, sitting on a cushion, just make sure you're comfortable and relaxed, alert if you can. And just beginning by noticing how you are this morning. So we wake up each day, don't we, often in different states. So it's just noticing how you are this morning. You may be sleepy, you might be wide awake, you might feel a bit sluggish or very active, tired even. You might be feeling negative or positive or somewhere in between. So it's just appreciating how you are in the whole of your being, mentally, emotionally, and physically. And just having a sense of acceptance to whatever that is, without wanting to change it. It's the key to contentment. It's being ourselves and being happy to be ourselves. Whatever we're like, we may see things we want to change. We may see things that could be better in some way. But that's an aspiration. And we'll only get there if we accept ourselves as we are right now, with a sense of kindness and patience. Noticing the weight of your body pressing down on the bed, the floor, the chair, the cushion. And just allowing your weight to be held by whatever you're sitting or lying on. don't have to do anything. We can just let go. Let ourselves be held by the earth, ultimately. Held by gravity, pulling us down, taking our weight. And bringing our awareness, when we're ready, to the breath. The in-breath lifting us up, bringing energy and life into our bodies. The out-breath relaxing us, allowing us to let go, be at rest, to ease our way into contentment. You might notice the chest rising and falling as we breathe. Not just at the front though, at the sides and at the back as well. The whole of our upper body expanding and contracting. This wonderful rhythm of the breath. This is the mindfulness of breathing, and in the first stage we're going to follow each out breath right from the beginning to the end. And then if we wish to, we can place a number at the end of each out breath, beginning with 1, and then 2 at the next out breath, and then 3, and so on up to 10. And when we get to 10, beginning again from 1. So of course, if you've done this meditation before, you know that it's probably you won't get to 10, probably may not even get past 1. And that's okay, because it's not about getting to 10. It's not about any kind of achievement or competition. The number is there simply to help us to let go of thinking, just giving the mind something to hold on to so that it allows it to settle. But the main thing is following the out breath right from the beginning right to the end, noticing it all the way along. And then when we get distracted, as we will, not seeing this as a bad thing, in fact, seeing it as a very positive thing when we realize that we've been distracted. There's this little moment when we come back to our being, to the present moment, and we notice we've been distracted. That's like a little bit of awakening, and it's a precious moment. So just valuing that moment when you notice you've been distracted, just being joyful and positive about it. It's such an important spot in our experience. And if we can keep noticing that point when we come back from distraction, then what happens is that short space between thoughts becomes longer, and therein lies contentment and peacefulness and happiness. So following each out breath, and if you wish, counting at the end. Just really noticing when you've been distracted. And although in that moment of time there's no thought, you are aware, you do know there's no thought. So it's a moment of peace and contentment. One of the things we can do when we notice we've been distracted is to think a lot about it and to beat ourselves up or to have negative thoughts about it. So that isn't a moment of peace and contentment. So when we notice we've been distracted, just enjoying that space, that precious space of not thinking, of freedom from our chattering mind. In the second stage, we're going to count just before the beginning of the in-breath. But just before that, taking a moment to just notice how you are, to get comfortable if you're not comfy. And then when you're ready, following the in-breath all the way from the beginning to the end. And if you wish, counting at the very beginning of each in-breath in the same way as in the first stage. Starting at 1 and counting up to 10. Noticing that precious moment when you come back from distracted thinking. We're not trying to stop the chattering mind, we're just noticing that we are distracted and rejoicing when we're not. In the third stage, we're going to drop the counting and bring our attention to the breath in the body. So we're beginning with the upper body, with the chest, at the front, at the back, at the sides. Just noticing the movement, the rhythm, and the sensations of the breath in the lungs. Just getting caught up as much as possible in the movement and the sensations. Letting any thoughts go and coming back to this movement and sensations of the breath in the upper body. We're going to move down the body a little now. First of all, into the abdomen, just below the rib cage. And you feel that moving. And you feel the breath in the abdomen. And you might even be able to feel like you're breathing from the abdomen. Breathing in from the abdomen. And breathing out through the abdomen. Just as if that's where the breath is beginning and ending. And if you're finding this difficult, then that's okay. Just staying open to it, just trying to notice the movement in the abdomen, the sense of drawing the breath into the body from this point, and then letting it go again from this point. I'm going to move again now further down the body to a point between the navel and the belly button. Just inside our bodies here is something that is called the hara. It's possibly one of the chakras for those who do yoga, but we know it as the hara. It's the point between the navel and the belly button. So you might be able to breathe in and breathe out from this point. And if you can, just really focusing in on it, noticing the movement, breathing in and out from this hara. Might not be possible for everyone, but just staying open and noticing what you can in the lower abdomen, in the belly, around this hara, between the just below the belly button. So if you can locate this spot and you can breathe in and breathe out from it, just doing that for the next couple of minutes. It's really being in this area totally. And when you're ready, moving back up the body to the chest again. Noticing the rising and falling of the chest. Allowing yourself to be absorbed in the movement and the sensations in the chest. And so we move on to the final stage, and bringing our awareness up to the area around the nostrils or the upper lip, wherever the breath comes into the body. And just focusing our awareness on this single spot, and noticing the delicate sensations as the breath enters and leaves the body. Just really homing in on this tiny area, staying open to all the possible sensations that you could feel. And as we move towards the end of the meditation, just letting go of all effort now, just sitting with whatever experience is arising, accepting it completely, whatever it is. Maybe noticing the whole of your experience as well, the whole of your being, the whole of the body, the whole of the mind.